What's up, guys? Sub-Zeric here, back for another VOD review. Today, we are VOD reviewing a player for the first time, so I feel like I have to give them some introduction. This is Marcel P. This is somebody who's been floating around high elo NA TFT for a while. I would see him, on the top of the ladder in some of my games sometimes, but this set, he's really popped off. Currently rank 5, 1500 LP in North America, and you can just see this run of games that he had recently from about under 1400 LP to 1700. You can even see in his last 20 just this crazy streak of games with just almost no bot fours, and then sadly this tiny streak of bot fours here, but still, I mean, a 3.1 AVP. Not bad at all, especially when you're at the top of the ladder. He also has a Smurf account that's around 1100 LP as well. So this guy's a major grinder, like 1200 plus games over his two accounts. And, this other account looks quite solid as well. I mean, 1100 LP is not easy to get to in TFT. And then the other thing to say about this player is that he posted this really long, really in-depth Reddit post here. Let me move my head over here so you can read the full title. How to actually improve at TFT from Hardstuck to 1700 LP rank 2 NA. So I guess that's what he capped out at, is rank 2. And this is a really in-depth, really good Reddit post about improving at TFT, so I'll link to it in the description down below. I'm obviously not going to read through this whole thing, but you guys should check it out. There's a lot of really good stuff in here that's really beneficial. So let's hop into the VOD review, but yeah, just wanted to check out a game from Marcel. Also, Damasi and Raptor told me he asked Marcel to join our study group, and I think that might be happening. So maybe future study mate of mine. I've never spoken to this guy in my life before, so I only know that he's a great TFT player, and also, wrote very well about TFT and stats and everything in TFT, really. So seems like a very smart guy by any means. Also, he flexed in his Reddit post that he's like a software engineer at a FANG company. So I mean, look. It must be a little bit of a beast. Let's go back here and check what Exalted is real quick, as he checks that they are Garen, Lux, Velios, Ornn, Irelia. I don't see anything too interesting with this. I mean, like, obviously there is some kind of like Ornn Aphelios connection, like Ornn Aphelios Lux somehow, or Garen with Faded, but I don't see anything too interesting with this. And I mean, also there's just kind of a late game idea of like an Irelia or Ornn Lux could easily be fit. Those are the two main ones. But we'll see what we end up getting with this opener here. Yasuo pair looks like something that I really want to hold on to. Yeah, the question I would say immediately is, do you sell the Bard? Because with these component anvils, you could actually consider a Bard game if you got like a portable forge as your augment here. I think Bard would actually be a really good pickup in this spot. Imagine you get portable forge into like a wit's end into Gwynsu's here. We decide to sell the Bards immediately, which if we get more gold here, that would get punished. Yeah, I think this does actually immediately get punished, because I would actually consider holding the Bard here, though it may be the case that we end up just making 10 here in this position. We could sell all of these guys, make 10, hold on to Volibear plus Yasuo pair. We don't get to hold the Yasuo 2, but there's a decent chance we end up getting Yasuo 2 anyway. That seems pretty reasonable to me. Just sell, and make 10 gold, hold the Volibear. It looks like we're interested not. Oh, okay. Ooh, interesting. So we're gonna make 10 here, but hold on to Yasuo 2 plus the Ahri here. For more of like a faded opener. I think I like holding Voli here more because you have a decent chance of hitting Yasuo too, but I think his idea is that, we can actually play a solid faded opener from here, guarantee the Yasuo too, and, have a pretty good go of it. And yeah, we end up getting the Kindred here, so we can just play a faded opener, though. These days, I'm not too hyped to play a faded opener. One thing that Marcel said, and I'm giving him a bit of benefit of the doubt, because one thing Marcel said in his Reddit post that I think is really smart is that, when you're watching a player like this, when you're VOD reviewing, you should give that player the benefit of the doubt, right? When you're VOD reviewing, you should assume, especially, if you're like a Masters player, Diamond player, or something, you're VOD reviewing Setsuko, your assumption should always be, I'm wrong, Setsuko's right. Which is why I like to talk through these kind of things and see what's actually like a quote-unquote error versus like what actually makes sense. Like that I disagree with, but I mean, Marcel, he's higher elo than me right now. I mean, maybe Copium, if I played 1200 games, I'd be the same rank as him, but super Copium. Augment-wise here, Caretaker's Ally has fantastic stats. We could check the stats again just to make sure that it's still broken. But I have to imagine that the stats are still very good on it. 4.14, yeah. The stats basically say you should auto-take this augment, and with the two little, anvils here, you can basically tailor your items to be anything, right? If you get some kind of like 80 frontliner, you can make like BT plus whatever. You could end up just like, if you get like a John or a Lux, you can just make Shojin plus like a Nashor's or something. So Caretaker seems like an easy pick here. We can reroll these two in case we get something even more broken, but certainly none of these. So there's our caretakers, and it's Riven. Ooh, okay, so maybe we get to see a Riven game this game. I mean, that would be fun. I haven't done a video on like Riven reroll, but you know, it's certainly a fun comp and can be strong under the right circumstances. Ooh, wow, this is an interesting call out here. So I think let's go back and look at how Marcel scouted here, because it may be that he scouted here and said he doesn't think that he can actually win with this board. So he'd rather just like I want to go back to the scout here. Because it almost looks like he scouted and then made this call, because this is not a bad starting board by any means. Like this is a board, I don't know, that seems quite beatable, but maybe once they stem all the items, it's not beatable. This is a board that seems, I mean, the main reason I think Marcel does this here is because he's not really in a good space to slam items. I guess theoretically you could crack these open and make Riven items and just throw them onto like Yasuo and end up with like a Sterox onto Yasuo or something. But it looks like Marcel just wants to guarantee the loss streak here, and yeah, play for that. Gonna just play this as his weak strongest board. Kha'Zix maybe can kill a unit. Hopefully the idea is to focus fire down something. Kha'Zix jumps actually, so maybe Darius, just in terms of like playing, I mean, honestly, maybe even Cho'Gath as your frontliner, so to buy time for your Riven and your Sivir to kill stuff. Looks like he wants Kha'Zix as far as that goes. And boom, there's an Aatrox, so we can fit that in. And you could put a Caitlyn on this board as well if you wanted Ghostly and some better single target damage. Well, some okay single target damage. And now we're gonna look at popping these anvils here. It's interesting because we're playing Riven here, so you probably want to play some kind of Riven reroll comp. The most standard version of Riven reroll is like vertical bruisers. You play just like 6 bruisers Riven. You can roll for Riven and Aatrox as well. So I would look for potentially maybe an Aatrox item out of this tier. I don't actually know what the statistics say. So, I mean, here's a situation where maybe we go into the Explorer here and we look at like Riven, Aatrox, 6 bruiser, and then do tier 3 plus, because this is probably going to play 4. And we can call both of them 3-star, and then you can actually look at items and then see like what do the statistics say is good to build on these guys, because I haven't played around Aatrox here at all. And looks like the stats say that there aren't that many stats for these type of units, which fair. Maybe I went too far on the tailoring here. It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, BT Titans, I'm really curious on Aatrox items, so maybe give me like just Aatrox here. Wow, it still says Declaw quite good. It's really low sample size though, so hard to say. We can bring this down as well to maybe get a slightly better sample. But yeah, it looks like this is just not a line that is played that frequently, which fair enough. And then, you know, if you don't say 3-star, then it becomes really hard to actually get the stats for these. Okay, I mean, if you bring these down, you get what look like reasonable stats. And yeah, Ionic Spark is good. Redemption. Hodge JG actually pretty good in the stats. Crown card. So kind of what you would expect. Something like a Spark. But my main question is, what do we do with this tier? I guess Redemption is the main idea. Redemption from the tier. And then this sword can be... Is BT even that good on Riven? I haven't actually like played around it at all. I mean, the stats say it's fine. Star level 3. Item count 3. See what we get when we do that. I mean, obviously Silvermere Dawn broken. BT's... Yeah, when you use these filters, which is why filters matter so much, the stats on BT go down a lot. Though it is one of the most frequently built items, so, you know, it doesn't seem terrible. Certainly looks like you would be better off building, I don't know, a Declaw Edge of Night, i.e. This is such an unfrequently played line that it's just like the stats are actually kind of hard to parse here. He actually takes another tier here, looking at blue buff, I guess? Not sure what the extra tier is going to be for, actually. This is, I'm ready to follow Marcel on this line, because this seems crazy. Also, ooh, this is an unfortunate fight. We made our board a bit stronger. We ended up fighting this person, who was probably the weakest person in the lobby, and ended up winning here, so now we lose our streak. Yeah, this is rough. I think Marcel got kind of lost looking at items here. I think if we could have scouted more, we would have, you know, seen that this player had a really weak board, and that we could have, you know, played slightly weaker against it. Or if you wanted to play strongest, you would have played the Caitlyn, like I talked about. Yeah, I'm sure this is it. Looks like he's holding on to the Sivir for an idea of playing storyweaver, and he's gonna go for the blue buff Riven tech. Whoa! I mean, she is a low mana unit. Does blue buff exist in these stats that I was looking at? Yeah, the stats say blue buff is not amazing, but not terrible. Yeah, I mean, I could just delete all of these stats, then we'll get slightly more stats if I look at like just Riven, just craftable. And it still says blue buff not amazing on her. Yeah, I think looking at these, the stats really say just don't build damage items on it, just throw tank items onto Riven, but maybe this is just a random Riven 3 onto your board. Hard to filter for like primary carry Riven. It's not like there's a Riven hero augment or anything like that. In any case, interesting game here. He's going to use the tech to pop Anvil before Carousel here. Smart stuff. we have, because we made blue buff, what do we have open? We have the sword open, I believe. Yeah, we have sword open here, looking for ideally another Riven item. Marcel hovers Sterax here, so the idea would be, I mean, and once again, we can look at the stats, but like the stats basically just say build a tank item on her. Where's Sterax down here? We could also look at games played, play rate, and see what actually outperforms. And yeah, the stats say Sterax. As far as the most built items, does pretty well. So perhaps we look at Sterax, Declaw. Seems a little bit difficult to get to. Maybe it's like tier and Sterax. And then this other tier can be for Redemption. We'll see. He's looking at the spat, maybe. Ooh, Storyweaver spat here. And yeah, I mean, we don't have the Storyweaver spat yet, and it looks like we might go for Deathblade here. But yeah, I mean, this is onto an Aatrox, and it can just be Storyweaver spat. That's part of the reason, I think, why we're holding onto the Sivir is thinking about playing a Storyweaver setup. But, I mean, Deathblade... I mean, the stats actually look pretty decent on Deathblade Riven. Blue buff Deathblade Riven, and she's just Giga casting. I mean, the thing is, we could potentially play for a streak if we actually make this Deathblade Riven here, because, you know, our board's not bad, though. Very, very nice stuff. Very clean TFT play from Marcel here. He says, I'm fighting a Fortune player. I don't need to slam, so I get to chill for this round. If you're thinking, because I was thinking of playing Vertical Bruiser this game, I kind of would have wanted to get this Koboko on the board, just honestly to start stacking up. But looks like, yeah, he's really looking at playing Riven with a Vertical Storyweaver here. Once he has the Spatula, that's his main idea. Gets the 4 Bruiser in here because the strongest board. We finally picked up the Rek'Sai. But yeah, the idea is we're just going to play towards 7 Storyweaver Riven 3. I mean, it makes sense, certainly. And yeah, we can absolutely slam this Deathblade if it's going to win us this fight. This is a relatively... Ooh, Riven walking up to the Lux ult. Looks like we might just be guaranteed to lose the fight, though. And yeah, I think Marcel sees that. He says, slamming Deathblade is not going to win me this fight, so I'm just going to take my loss here. Once again, smart stuff from Marcel to say, you know what, it's not going to do anything to slam this Deathblade, and it's not the best possible item onto Riven. We have, like, Sterax as an option, BT as an option, so I'll just chill on this board right now. I think it makes a lot of sense. What Marcel would love at, like, 3-2, or just, I don't know, from some kind of encounter would be Artifacts here. Artifacts would go crazy because Silvermere Dawn's broken on Riven. Yeah, I mean, that would just be the ideal world, as you could see when I pulled up the stats. Silvermere, I think, was the best one by far. If we just go to, like, Ornn items, and yeah, I mean, Silvermere 3.23. Intervening Locket also quite good. Even Death's Defiance, well, positive delta at that point. It's really just these two that you're taking for, and definitely Silvermere over the other. Items here become a bit awkward. Sword, glove, rod, bow. So we don't get our Storyweaver spat here. I don't think we want to, like, pivot and, like, slam a ghostly spat or anything like that. I don't think that makes much sense. There is Gunblade for a healing item, or you could go for, like, Deathblade. Ugh, these items are so gross. I guess, like, best slam could be, like, Deathblade, Last Whisper, and just have those be our Riven items. I believe the stats on Last Whisper didn't look terrible. They had at least a negative delta, but this board is not going to be doing that much physical damage. The idea is you could start building towards, like, a Zoe carry or something like that to be your sort of secondary here. But man, these items look a bit rough. Maybe you do just go Deathblade, Last Whisper, and try to play for Streak here. Just get your items slammed and have those be our Riven items. Looks like he's looking at Gunblade. Maybe Gunblade IE are going to be his items? Or just Gunblade nothing? Gunblade GS? Gunblade IE, all right. We end up with Gunblade IE. I mean, this is at least healing onto Riven. She has some healing built into her kit, but, you know, building healing onto her feels really, really good. So yeah, Deathblade IE. I mean, I haven't looked at the stats on IE Riven, but IE, slightly positive delta. And where's Gunblade? Gun... Control F. Gunblade. It says it's not amazing, but not terrible either. I think we should dance with Koboko here, because we actually do really want to pick up we really want to get to our Storyweaver spat. Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, I think these items make a lot of sense. And ooh, I see something kind of spicy here. I think the items make sense because you do want to get some kind of healing onto your melee carry. And yeah, if you end up going something like Deathblade LW, she might just end up dying. I don't think her inbuilt healing is enough. I mean, I'll say I've played one carry Riven game this entire set, so I'm learning Riven itemization while in this game. I mean, Fine Vintage here actually looks pretty reasonable. How many anvils did we just get from Koboko? And we're already up a bunch of items, or we got 2. So we'd be fine vintaging 1 item right now and then 1 here later. We also have we have augment. Well, we're going into augment here. you can't really, I don't think you can sell the Riven and then find vintage these items. Maybe you could and then just go back, but I think you do really still want the Riven 3, and you could use find vintage to support this Riven. Find vintage also pretty solid with storyweaver. Also, we have another orb here if this is another item that feels really good. I mean, I think it's, I could see the find vintage angle. You make storyweaver spat, you take find vintage, you find vintage some stuff. Silver Veil doesn't look bad either. It's just a failsafe if he doesn't want to go crazy and take find vintage, but find vintage would be so sick here. Silver Ticket actually buffed as well, but yep, we are going for a find vintage here. It was another component that's huge for us here. It means we can find vintage 2 full items here, and you do want to do that. He's gonna go for the storyweaver emblem. Okay, so this is an interesting question: is do you make storyweaver emblem here, or do you find vintage? I think I would have find vintaged, because it takes so long to actually like get those items. The only fear is that maybe you get here and you don't ever have a chain and you lose the game because of it. But yeah, I mean, we're certainly going to find vintage 1 item, and then, I mean, it's only 2 more rounds till carousel, and then we're going to find vintage that item. So we basically lose these 2 rounds. We're going to be getting a find vintage item 2 rounds later, but I mean, that's another, man, TFT is such a cool game. Like, that's such an interesting call if you find vintage or if you just take the chain vest here. Because honestly, the more I think about it, the more I feel okay waiting 2 rounds to guarantee the storyweaver spat. I think that makes a lot of sense after thinking about it, because you only have to wait an extra 2 rounds to get till carousel here. It means you can take whatever you want off of carousel. You don't have to dig for a chain vest later. And yeah, it's only 2 rounds. You know, it's not going to make a difference of, you know, getting an extra item find vintage or anything like that. So yeah, the more I think about this, the more I like it. I mean, the more I watch, the more I can see why, you know, Marcel is so high elo, and, you know, he wrote this entire long Reddit post. He's clearly very thoughtful about the game. I mean, he made that decision quickly, but I mean, I think it was actually a tough decision of whether you want to take that or find vintage or not. But he probably pre-thought about that decision when he grabbed find vintage. We're just taking whatever high cost unit we can get here. I mean, yeah, Morgana's fantastic because maybe there's a world where she actually ends up fitting onto the board here to play around Storyweaver. It is something you could think about. And I mean, yeah, we're just going to find vintage this Guinsoo, surely level up here for the Morgana, like I was talking about, fits well onto the board. Gets Ghostly in and Sage as well with the Zyra here over the Sivir. I like it. And, you know, with Storyweaver Emblem, we don't have to play Sivir yet. We are going to hold on to her because our most cap version of the board is probably 7 Story. 7 Story, one of the highest performing comps in the meta, actually. Obviously, you need a spat to get there, but just this Kale unit can do some disgusting stuff. Speaking of disgusting, man, look at this Riven. She's a genius. She just walks straight to the backline. Also, I'm interested to see, we just beat this player Young Monies. I'm interested to see how that player actually ends up doing, because they are, they're playing Bard, but I didn't see, they're playing Bard TK with, I think, no artifacts. They do kind of get to handpick their items, but without artifacts, most people, I think the comp's a little bit underwhelming, but I have seen more and more people play it. Also, look at this really nice positioning here. We're third rowing everything, having this this Zyra out here to bait Luxalt to guarantee that none of this stuff is ever getting Luxalted. I really like this. And then we have Kale here to guarantee shred onto whatever Riven's hitting. The only thing that's a little bit sad about this board right now is, especially against a board like this Koboko, is that we have no heal cut. And we're pretty far off getting heal cut unless we get like Eternal Flame off of, you know, our fine vintage items. But yeah, I mean, let's see. We do have Eternal Flame as an option. I'm pretty sure you just take Aegis, though. Aegis feels so insane. You get to buff the Riven, you get to buff the Kale as well. Banshee's Veil is another option. I feel like in this, when you're playing Story, you just always take Aegis, but I'm curious to see, maybe he values Eternal Flame even higher than that. Yeah, he is just going to value the Aegis. I think this makes perfect sense. We are 7 Rivens here, so we're guaranteed Riven 3 on 9. Or we need to find 1 more Riven, and then we can just have Riven 3 on 8. It'll be interesting to see what Marcel's sort of leveling cadence ends up looking like here, if he wants to just sack 1, level it 4-2, use his rolls on level 8 to dig for, you know, higher cost Storyweaver units like the Irelia. I think that makes sense to me, is just push 8 next round, but we'll see. He also has the opportunity to roll on 7 if he wants to. I assume we just find vintage all of these. I don't see a reason why not to, and it's 2 items, like 2 full items, which feels good. Maybe we're looking at holding on to these brambles. Interesting. Potentially like a Sunfire Cape. Ooh, wow! Potentially a Bramble Vest. That's crazy to me that he actually makes this Bramble Vest for Galio later, presumably, right? That's wild to me that he actually wants the Bramble here instead of another fine vintage item, but maybe he thinks with 3 support items, that's enough for me, and that Bramble is going to be really nice for Galio here. Speaking of items, Impenetrable Bulwark with fine vintage tends to be amazing because you get all these items. I actually haven't looked at the stats, but like, let's do an Explorer check to just make sure I'm not crazy. So So you go into Fine Vintage. You can say it 3-2, but let's just look at Fine Vintage in general. And then you can look at augments with this. And this is, what is it called again? Impenetrable Bulwark. 4.71. Wow. I mean, I feel like so many people say this augment is so good with Fine Vintage. And the stats, I mean, it looks like Fine Vintage stats, obviously, in general, don't look that good. But, I mean, the stats say that it's actually not the best possible. Okay, this is, like, hey, this is why I do this. I want to do the stats check because, I mean, the stats actually say, like, new recruit is better here. That's so interesting. I think in our spot, and you can't fall too much into stats, right? Because in our spot, we don't really need extra units in, and we do actually need more Fine Vintage items. So I think you could still make the argument that it's still still an Impenetrable Bulwark. Also, it's weird that Impenetrable Bulwark is so much worse than Blinding Speed. I guess because this guarantees that you get the red buff for heal cut. That's so interesting though. I'm happy I did this check. You know, I mean, Storyweaver Crest looks amazing because you get to play Fine Vintage Storyweaver. Baboom even looks better, but I'm surprised even something like New Recruit is better. The New Recruit's just kind of a broken augment, so maybe it still makes sense. Well, that being said, we have New Recruit as an option here. So does Marcel want to take New Recruit or does he want to take Impenetrable Bulwark? I feel like this is another big decision. Like I said, with Storyweaver +1, like, I actually think the value of New Recruit is reduced because our board's just going to be 7 Storyweaver. I don't think we actually need more space. So it may be that Impenetrable Bulwark is just the take here. But, you know, interesting regardless to think about what we should go for here. I don't think it's ever Hedge Fund, of course. Golden Egg, also great in the stats, but I don't think we're taking it here. And looks like he's just looking at the Impenetrable. He's going to reroll this, get Overwhelming and Force as well. I mean, they're completely the same, except this one gives a Giant Spell, which is honestly probably a little bit better because you could potentially build Heal Cut out of it. He is going to go level 8 here. I assume we want to get... Whoa! Nobody told me this guy was a high roller. Little bit of a high roller here. We're just missing Galio or Garen here. We need one of those two, and then we can actually play 7 Storyweaver. Oh, and okay, so I mean, I'm obviously pausing here because I'm cheating, but it's Galio plus this in, and then probably this guy in. Can we do that quickly enough? Because right now we're playing 2 Riven and we have 0 seconds left, so probably not. Yeah, run out of time, but you know, understandable to run out of time here. Looks like we're gonna keep the Declaw as well, and then just reforge this this Bramble Vest. I mean, I think that also looks pretty reasonable. Something so interesting about Fine Vintage are these decisions. Do you to find Vintage or not to find Vintage, right? A lot of these items, Marcel is deciding, I want the Declaw onto my Galio, who's going to be super buffed up. I don't want to just blindly go for all of these. There's the Galio in, there's the Zoe in. Yeah, there's the Morgana in, and we're also just going to put... yeah, there's Morgana and the Alawi in, and this is just going to end up being our board. I mean, it fits very well. These units, Morgana and Alawi, are kind of just like OP synergistically in this comp. Storyweaver Emblem's going to go there. Tome of Power, we're not doing any kind of crazy shenanigans. At this point, I do think you take Eternal Flame. Looks like he's looking at Obsidian Cleaver. I think you do just take Eternal Flame here because you don't have Heal Cut at this point. You could theoretically turn this into Heal Cut, but I don't think either of these are very good, and I don't like Cleaver that much. I don't feel that much of a need for Shred because we already have Shred onto this Kale here, and a lot of our damage is going to be coming from Kale, whereas we don't have Heal Cut, and Eternal Flame does provide that. But Marcel, once again, a big thinker, thinking about this for a while, and decides to go for the Zeeks. Interesting. Okay, the downside to Zeeks is that you can't really position that well for it with this setup because you have to clump up for the Aegis, but the upside is that it's a Zeeks. So, yeah, I think maybe Marcel wants to go for a... No, he just goes for the final Riven here with Glove off Carousel. That makes sense. Guarantee the Riven 3. There was a Rod on there for Morello, which I think maybe that's another reason why he doesn't want Eternal Flame. And like this is another spot where we can stats check it, and maybe Marcel has done this. This is something he actually talked about a bit in his Reddit post, is knowing these types of things. But 7 Storyweaver here, put this into the filter, then go to items, and then look up support items. What do the stats say is best in situations like these? The stats say, I really want to know where Eternal Flame was. It looks like it's pretty good. Aegis, one of the best. Obsidian Cleaver, quite good as well. And then, yeah, I think about what I'd expect. I wanted to check Eternal Flame because I thought perhaps maybe Eternal Flame is worse in the stats because you really want to build anti-heal onto Irelia and have her spread it. Looks like that's not completely bound out, bought out. What is the word? Something like that in the stats, but yeah, you could see it. Nice positioning from Marcel to guarantee his most important units get the Aegis, and you have the Sivir over here to buff up the Aurelia anyway, so that makes sense. And yeah, we've got the Riven 3, that spiked us enough. Also, yeah, look at these items. We're holding on to these items. We are not, once again, fine vintaging these items. Marcel is just using fine vintage to sort of augment his comp a little bit and make it a little bit stronger, but he's not doing anything crazy with it. Here, there are a lot of different options once again. If you go blindly by the statistics, you take Virtue of the Martyr here, which honestly looks really good to me in this spot. That's probably what I would take, just based on the 7 Storyweaver plus this stuff stats. It's also nice because we have this really high HP Riven who's going to be gaining more HP because she's a 3-star. Zezerot's also not terrible because you can just give that the Aegis stats, and if you had a bunch of Aegis, it would be even better. Shroud is not a bad consideration, and Chalice is probably my least considered one here, but it's still not bad, right? You chalice up the Kayle. This is honestly like look at the stats. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have like these 4, and it's 4 out of like the top 7. Not bad at all. But yeah, I mean, you could take any of them. I think I would take Virtue here. Looks like that's what Marcel's looking at. He's definitely thinking it through, all of it. Yeah, opts to take the Virtue here. You put it on Galio. Oh, okay. Yeah, he's gonna throw it onto Galio here, and then slam these components here. Just a nice little min-max from Marcel. He just saw that we are in the encounter where we can pop our items off with Malphite, so it's free crit, it's free HP on our units. Why not go for it? Also, we're at a 26-minute VOD review. If Marcel goes first this game, I am in trouble because this video is going to be 30 minutes plus. But I've been having fun pausing and talking into the intricacies of this game, so hopefully you guys have enjoyed it as well. One thing that I think Marcel has really prioritized this game with Fine Vintage is saying, once I get to this later type of game, 4-7, you know, we're this far into the game, end of stage 4, I don't care that much about fine vintaging my items because I really want to prioritize getting items. And look at this. We can go for Morello and Guardbreaker here. I feel like that's a really, really easy pickup. Throw these both onto Aurelia here and we'll feel fantastic. I mean, and we got to save these items. Now we have the anti-heal onto Aurelia. Yeah, I mean, I think I really love how he's played out this game. Honestly, Morello, Guardbreaker, we have a fine vintage item coming, and we're just going level 9 next round for, what do you actually add here? Like a Rakan, probably? Yeah, just Rakan here, Wukong, Soraka, all good ends here, and you can start. That's the idea, is you play this version on like level 8, and then you can start pivoting into like the more heavenly type stuff on the next level. Oh my god, that Kayle! What was... I thought for sure he had that fight lost, and then Kayle just absolutely smurfed the entire fight. Last, probably one that we're getting here, Randuin's or Virtue of the Martyr. Once again, the stats don't like Randuin's that much. Yeah, the stats say it's not amazing. I could certainly see Randuin's here being a good pick, but yeah, if you go by stats, it's Virtue, and I'm having a hard time disagreeing with the stats saying Virtue. But, I mean, Randuin's could be a consideration here. We already have a Virtue, but like more healing. Like we have so many resists already onto something like Galio. I don't think we need the extra resists. He's gonna go for the Zezerot, like I talked earlier. Still a pretty good option here. Gonna opt to get in the Dragon Lord plus the Sage here with the with those 2 units. The what is the name of Diana and the Lee Sin here. I feel like next set I'm playing 1,000 games. I mean, no, I mean that's really just a YouTube videos thing. Is that I'm spending. Oh, I mean, you just take the free rerolls here, you roll on 9, and we hope to find upgrades for our board. We put everything into the planner already, so all good. Just gonna roll down here. There's the Rakan, certainly should be on the board here. Yeah, that should certainly be in as well. And we are also gonna get the Garen in here over the Sivir. Interesting. Is that for anything? Because I think I actually prefer Sivir over Garen. Maybe he's more frontline, but I mean, like, I feel like the attack speed is more relevant than whatever Garen's gonna do. I mean, I guess he's a little bit of tankiness, but yeah, this is going to be more of our final version of the board. We also pick up the Wukong here, which I have to imagine is going to come in over the 3 Dragon Lord. Just cut the Lee Sin. Oh, but we need Duelist from Lee Sin, so it's a little bit difficult. Itemization-wise here, we're just looking for last Aurelia item. What's the best Aurelia item here? Like Gunblade? There is also an Aurelia with a Bramble Vest here, but that gets taken, so I guess we're just going Gunblade here, I would have to imagine. Gunblade gets taken as well, so we end up having to take QSS, which I guess is fine? I don't know, seems pretty bad, but I mean, our other items got taken, so not ideal. Okay, so actually, how do you fit the Wukong here? You're certainly not cutting Rakan, right? Do you care? I guess you care less about 3 Sage than you do about 2 Duelists, so you cut the Diana? Has to be, yeah. And he's looking at cutting Rakan for Soraka as well. You lose Dragon Lord here, but you get Heavenly to your entire board. Once again, this is a board that we're buffing everybody, so the value of Heavenly is quite high. Rakan? I mean, I do think Rakan is a better unit than Soraka, but I could certainly see the argument that 2 Heavenly is better than 2 Dragon Lord. Also, we're 2 out of 3 Exalted. Remember way back when we have... It's Irelia? What are our other Exalteds? It was Irelia. I remember that, and then I don't remember who else it is. I mean, it has to be none of these units. Ooh, okay, so here's the idea. Yeah, I like this a lot. Okay, so that was the idea behind the QSS. We're gonna move it over to Riven and then move the IE down to Irelia. Really, really smart stuff with the Malphite encounter. What is it? It's not Soraka, is it? I don't know. At this point I've forgotten, but that could be, I mean, that should be our level 10, surely. Is just like you, oh yeah, he pulls it up here. Oh, Garen. It is Garen Irelia. Okay, so it's Garen Irelia, and then we can get like a Lux in here. It's Arcanist for our entire board, and it's like a nice random extra unit. I love it. Okay, so I mean, look for I would put a Lux in a team builder here because I think that is our best level 9. Obviously, Rakan's not bad. And oh, by the way, this game is almost done. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit because I did also just realize we're at 30 minutes, so maybe this video is getting too long. I don't know. BT here for Lee Sin 2, I guess seems fine. Onyx Spark to guarantee the shred. For what? For the... But I mean, like I was gonna say, Spark guarantees Shred, which is nice, but do you really... Okay, this is gonna go into Garen. I kind of like this because Garen's always gonna walk up here. But I mean, if Kale dies, isn't Kale our only... Kale's our Shred, and she's our only source of AP. I mean, I don't think BT would have done a lot either, so I guess it's fair either way. But yeah, I mean, at this point, we're just looking for the level 10 here. Like I said, I think it would be Lux in an ideal world, but we'll see. The Zizirot is also juiced up, by the way. This guy scales with stage, so this far into the game, the Zizirot's becoming a monster. We are also going to swap over to the left side here, I guess, just to get slightly better positioning. We also still don't have Galio 2. We are going fast 10 with no Galio 2, just with the power of the Riven 3, which we'll see if that ends up biting us, because Galio 2, I feel like, could certainly swing some of these fights, but looks like Marcel, he's opting to go the fast 10 here, but I think you could certainly make the argument that we're supposed to roll here and find Galio 2 at least before we push 10. But Marcel, he's confident in his board. He's saying, I can sack one more, go 10 next round, get Zyrakan in worst case, Exalted in best case, or maybe he thinks Zyrakan is better than the Exalted. I'm not actually sure, because, I mean, I'm not listening to his voice right now. He's probably said it in the VOD, which also, go check out his Twitch, right? I'll leave that in the description as well, but he said in his Twitch title that he's doing, like, educational, down-to-answer questions, so, you know, probably a really, really good guy to watch to get any questions answered. That's Rakan too, so I think we do just take that. So, you know, like, if you want a very nice stream where you can just hop in and, you know, ask one of the best players in North America his thoughts on, you know, the meta or what you should, you know, what comps you should play or whatever, it seems really, really nice. Also, this Titans can go. The idea is on to... We're moving items all the way around, by the way. This goes here, right? And then we're going to move the QSS back down to the Irelia. I think this is perfect. Morello's really, really good on Irelia, but also pretty good on Rakan, and it actually makes sense, right? Like, these items are going to do better on Irelia than they are or on somebody else. So, yeah, I think this makes perfect sense. Really, really good distribution of the items. I'm curious if he does end up holding an Exalted unit, if he sees one. I don't think we've seen one yet. Right now, he's just holding these guys. And yeah, 25 HP. I'm going to skip to the fight. He's juggling items again. QSS swapped for Titans. He decides to Titans backline here and QSS frontline here. This must have been in response to the fact that we're fighting an Ash board. He was afraid of getting Nautilus ulted, which really, really smart little mix up there. So, like, the idea is, if we do get Exalted, it's level 10 Exalted. I feel like you are forced to play level 10 Exalted. The question is just, what do we cut? My bet, or my vote is for the Soraka. You lose Heavenly and 3 Ultrist, and you go down to 2 Ultrist, but you do get a huge damage boost. So we'll see if I'm giving a cursory glance here to see. You can take Rakan item here. Redemption we still don't have, so I'm pretty sure it's just Redemption Rakan. He's between Crown Guard and Redemption, but yeah, I think Redemption makes the most sense. I mean, yeah, in my opinion, I think it could be stronger, Exalted over the Soraka, but looks like Marcel thinks this is the strongest version of the board. He does get set ulted, which is a little bit rough here, but maybe Kale can carry. Looks like Kale is carrying this fight. Groxy down to almost no HP, and finally we find a Galio 2. One final fight, 7-2. What a late game. He does end up finding the Aphelios here, so this could come in over Soraka if you want to guarantee Exalted. It's not as good as a Lux because he doesn't get Arcanist for the board, but looks like he said, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I won the last fight, might as well. Also, ooh, this is a really, really nice positioning. She's moved the Zizirot over to deny the sniper's value onto the Ash, put a unit right in front of her. Great positioning for Marcel, and he's going to win the game. All right, I won't keep the video much longer. Go check Marcel's links down and also mine below, and I'll see you guys in the next VOD.